we're back, and our topic this week is...
How do I use my talents for God?
People really want to know what that is all about, and we have some good guys here to help explain it. Why do I say that? Ethan, he is politically minded. He debates atheists. He has a keen sense of language and thought. And Steve, I'm telling you, this guy is an amazing man in terms of talents. I'm not going to even go into it. I'm just going to say music is one of them that he blows my mind. Music production, and then he has a number of other things. He can tell you about snapping turtles like no one else. He can tell you about ants.
Oh, gosh.
He can tell you about ice hockey. What does all this stuff have to do with being a Christian? Speak!
It depends on how you apply it. You could be like me and email Shawn one random Monday morning. I don't know when I email them. And you end up on the show and you end up working with them every Sunday. You just have to see where God takes you and always take the opportunity, take a chance. Because before this ministry, I've asked pastors for opportunities to speak on certain issues. I've tried to discuss with them. Most, if not all, have turned me down on the offers. But you just got to keep trying. Try and use God for whatever talent you have, whether it's music like Steve, whether it's public speaking and debating like me, whether it's like pissing people off like Shawn.
It is my gift. It's a spiritual gift. It was removed from the New Testament.
Yeah.
That ought to piss him off.
But yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
Okay. Well, it's funny because so I called into the show years and years ago about this exact issue because I was trying to use my gifts and talents of music in church, and I found it just wasn't very fulfilling. I mean, it's distracting, and it's just not what it's all about. So I ended up calling into Heart of the Matter to say, hey, what do you think about it? And we had a good conversation about just emotionalism being emotionalism and how worship should be done in church and whatnot. But as far as using your talents, I mean, I think it's just use them and you can, if you're a Christian, you can sing, write, play about what matters to you, which, it's going to be faith things. There's going to be earthly things because we're on earth right now. But yeah, I think just still showing love no matter what you do is important. And I don't think you have to label yourself as a Christian speaker. I don't think you have to label yourself as a Christian band, if it's music, or a Christian entomologist if you're if you like ants. Right. But
and this is really important because, sorry, Sarah, I got to interrupt. There's this idea that being a Christian and using your talents for Christ has to fit within the narrative of church. Mm-hmm. That if you're going to be a real Christian, that, Ethan, you should be an apologist like Ravi Zacharias. Oops. Or can you still talk about Ravi?
I can. Yeah, you can still talk about Ravi. I think
that you can. You guys don't know. It's all right.
Oh wait, I think I know.
Yeah. So that's another Christianese thing we're doing right now. But anyway, does he need to speak at churches? Does he need to produce Christian music and be in a worship band instead of a Hollywood band?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's interesting to me is that Steve's music is antithetical to what people think is Christian music. It is heavy. It is drop D music, isn't it?
That's lower than, well.
Is it lower than D?
Yeah.
My grandpa would
lower.
love your music,
Much
Steve.
lower.
Is that the grandpa who drinks?
Drinks. Yeah. He only listens to it when he's had 5 or 10.
That's right.
I'm telling you, he's not affected by it.
Before that, it's just Enya all the time, and then when he gets drunk, he listens to my music.
I mean, is someone serving Christ with their talents as a chef?
Sure.
Who serves the rich and famous?
Only if you serve Christians in a church. No,
this is a
that's
Christians
the point.
only
Like,
restaurant.
I think you can be a better use your talents far greater ways when you're getting outside of doing it for the church, because when you're sticking to just the church world, it's such a small community compared to where you could be spreading the love and spreading your talents with people, like with a band. I mean, Christian bands are popular to Christians, but everyone else just can't stand them, including myself. And that was one thing. It was not causing me happiness because I just hated the music itself. But even, there's plenty of metal bands that call themselves Christian, and that was huge for a long time. It's not as big anymore, but for a while there was like Christian metal was huge. Bands were just calling themselves Christians just so they could fit into that group that weren't Christians at all. Seriously. And
that's what happens.
Yeah, and that's what happens, and then it just gets sickening, and you're just, it's far better to just be a band. And you can be a Christian in that band. You can be a Christian in any talent or role you're in, and I think you can go farther, farther and higher by using that in not limiting yourself to just the Christian crowd and that Christian label specifically.
I wish we could break away from all that idea that Christians need to perform within Christianity. I think that, like you said, we do far more for the faith by being out there and doing it and being Christians ourselves and letting people find out that you're a Christian rather than the Christian type thing.
I mean, I've never worked within the realms of Christianity in terms of churches because they've never really allowed me to.
Isn't that funny?
I know. So I think I've told you guys this. So when I was a part of FCA, which is a big Christian fellowship group within schools, I spoke there 2 or 3 times.
FCA?
Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Oh, so he knows. I forgot.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Fellowship of Christian
Athletes.
Athletes.
They have it in schools everywhere.
Colleges?
So
like
just middle school.
Oh, wow.
So I was speaking there.
That's what,
You throw me off so badly.
That's a good one.
But I was speaking there, and I wanted to speak again because I got such a good reaction from the youth that was in there. They were asking questions. They're like, here are my doubts. I was answering them. We were having a good conversation. But the leader hated it. She absolutely hated it. And I still don't know why. She pulled me to the side.
Control.
And said,
She lost control.
Exactly.
You usurped her control and you terrified her.
I spoke on things that weren't the general thing. Usually they speak of
you get thumbs
the
up
general, oh yes, Christ loves you, which is true. They speak of, oh, we have to be loving others, which is true. But what we need is, why are we believing this in the first place? Which is what I set out. I always hate hitting my microphone. Seth probably hates me now for that. Which is why what I started my ministry off of, and it's still what my main goal is, why are you believing this in the first place? And when you actually get young people to start thinking, and they actually have general questions, you just have to give them the opportunity to ask them. I've learned this very recently, because everyone has their own ideas and their own thoughts. You just have to give them to speak it. So my advice to anyone out there who has talents and want to use them for Christ, always take the opportunity. People will deny them to you all the time. You'll find the right ministry. You'll find the right people to work with you. So like, for example, last summer, I randomly decided I wanted to write a book. And then from that, it turned into a podcast. It turned into me coming on the show, and me coming on to the show, to me co-hosting a show. And we'll see where this year goes. That was all within a year and a half time period. You have to see where Christ takes you. You just have to give God the opportunity to make a plan and always keep fighting for what you believe in and always keep working towards your ultimate goal.
And bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. A broad audience is not necessarily indicative of success in God's eyes. You can reach one person who's the right person in your ministry. You're a chef who makes a burger for the right person who asks you about your life. You share Jesus or whatever the scenario. And that is as important as someone who has a worldwide outreach. We can't base it on weights and measures. We have to base it on being in God's will and sharing what He created you to do. And I could go on my soapbox on that one. You got to do what you were made to do.
I agree with that. And I think a lot of times when you're in the smaller audiences, you have a bigger impact on people sometimes because it's more personal, no matter what you're doing, whether that's music, speaking, or anything.
So Steve, he's done stand-up comedy downtown Salt Lake City. He was actually, you engaged with the guys from, was it MTV?
It's a show called Kill Tony. It's
Kill
a
Tony.
podcast, a live podcast.
And they loved him.
good.
And he was himself. Ethan, he gets involved in the arena with atheists. He's not shy. He shares his gifts and talents as a believer. When you become a believer, if you are an artist, if you're science driven, be what God made you to be. If, whatever it is, you don't have to fall into the Christian description, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the importance of this topic tonight.
And I think what you mentioned earlier about them finding that out later is important too, because when you're interacting as a Christian and you're exercising your love for people that don't love you back, and when you're doing all these things, people notice this about you and they say, whoa, what's up with this guy? This guy's super nice to all these people that are being jerks to him. What's going on? And then you find out he's a Christian and you're like, oh,
amen.
There you go.
There's the witness.
Yep.
Whose turn?
My turn.
Steve.
Get a good one, Steve.
I can't look.
For next week.
Here
on CAT.
It is. What rules do Christians live by?
Broad category.
Yep.
Very broad.
Very diverse.
If they've seen any of our shows, I think they'll know where this one's going.
Might have a redundancy here.
Yes, but that's okay.
We stretch things out.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we know how to make a good show.
We have to attack everything in different angles so
That's
we can
right.
really
All right.
get it good.
So I guess we will continue with that next week here on Christian Anarchy Today. Out.
Out.
You all were late!
I thought we were doing a wave situation.
I thought we were doing the Three Stooges. Hello, hello, hello.
No.